What's up, guys? Mike, Dylan, how you guys doing? And we're live. Yeah, exactly. All right. I got about an hour and a half to spend with you guys, so we can do quite a bit. I'm going to go over Bitcoin's analysis, what I'm preparing for, and why. You can kind of get an idea that I'm right now mostly prepared for long by looking at my screen here. We got quite a bit of confluences that will happen if we get a 15-minute candle close above this level. However, we just potentially weakened our chances of this occurring from this full body candle close happening below this level here. And we didn't really get a sweep here, which I was kind of hoping for on this time frame. We could still technically get it on the 30-minute time frame, or maybe the hourly, sorry. But yeah, hopes aren't really there. We could start seeing price action coming down, treating this as a rejection off of this value area right here, off the value area low. So we have confirmed lower. We are, however, confirming lower near a large amount of support. We're actually pretty darn close to the daily macro value area low, and a significant level of support at 92,000 that has honored it as support since we started this range. How you guys doing? All right, Scott's here. Max Wild, Melissa, how you guys doing? I'm going to zoom out on the daily just so I can give you a better idea of what I mean. We are approaching this value area low here. This has been honored as support since November. We came up through here, honored as support for the first time on November 26th. And then we started ranging, using it as support ever since. We grabbed liquidity here, making it kind of like less of a threat for us to come down, because at this point, when we grabbed this liquidity, we grabbed a massive majority of the weight liquidity from this range and kind of like devalued the threat of us coming down during that period. So the same kind of thing could happen. We could see price action go as low as grabbing this, sweeping from this wick here. We have a wick right here as well where we could bounce off of and kind of like maintaining this uptrend. But I kind of want to see us grab maybe this wick here at 91.9 to give us a really good risk-to-reward ratio based setup, so we can start rotating our way back up to this value area high at 102K and maybe even create a new potential all-time high, depending on how we treat this value area high, because this is going to be a strong, high confluence zone of resistance. But yeah, so that's what I'm kind of preparing for. If we go lower, I'm going to prepare for a sweep and then hold it until we get up here. Typically, a hold on this range lasts, so we had a bounce from here that lasted 20 days. We have a bounce from here that lasted about 6 days. As things get more and more predictable, we tend to see more volume pick up from retail as well. And then here, it was about 7 days as well. So if we honor this as support in the lower time frames and we have clear reversal signs, then we should tend to get maybe a 6-day pump until we get to around the value area high. But yeah, and we're stacking tons of liquidity above us, so we have lots of reasons to go up. We're almost completing that full rotation down now. If we go to the lower time frames, we might not go as low as I'm suggesting. We could just break this level right here and use that as the conduit to bring us to this neckline. And then this neckline, if broken, we would have the confluence of acceptance into the value area, breaking this VWAP, because that's a big barrier concern that you should watch on with every strategy. You should have a VWAP on your chart, and that will give us a double bottom recovery into this value area, and we can start targeting 97K for like a short-term scalp trade. And maybe even after grabbing the liquidity from up here, it could be the spark to something bigger and leave this value area and then get the full rotation earlier than we hoped. And I know a lot of traders don't like hearing us pumping before sweeping the lows, but it happens all the time, so you got to prepare for it. But yeah, that's what I'm looking for with Bitcoin. Do any of you guys have any questions about this before we maybe move on to something else? Runway, 100 likes. Let's boost. Yeah, if we get 100 likes, then that would be breaking a record for me. That'd be awesome. Noobing around. All right, cool. Pump during the week, dump during the weekend. The last couple weeks. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, it's been sell-off events during the weekend. And the volume over the weekend was kind of miserable. We had this rounded top structure, slow, gradual drop, and bounced off of the value area low for a bit, and then got rejected at the point of control, and then ping-ponged our way down. And like this is in my opinion, kind of like an A+ kind of setup. I like to see these lows taken because that makes this level a strong high on this time frame. And I love when strong highs are broken because then we have a proper change of character to add to our confluence for the reversal to the upside. So if we manage to get up here, we should start seeing bullish divergence the moment this candle closes above here. It hasn't printed on my RSI yet, but it will print once we break above this level, and it will confirm the divergence here. And if divergence is part of your rules and you won't enter a trade unless you have bullish divergence or bearish divergence, then this could be a good setup for you as well. Alrighty. Click the like button, people. Actually, I like you guys say it for me because I'm not a really good chiller. So I appreciate you guys like trying to get likes from me and stuff like that. Okay. Is there any assets you guys want to look at now that we know like what we're preparing for with Bitcoin? We can use Bitcoin's analysis and basically use it as a bias control rule for any altcoin trades that we might prepare for, because Bitcoin's the boss. If Bitcoin's going to go up, it's going to carry a lot of things up with it unless they have relative strength. And if Bitcoin drops, it's going to, demolish. They usually get hurt a lot more than Bitcoin does when Bitcoin drops, right? Especially lately with all the funds kind of like migrating slowly towards the utility-based assets. Like we're kind of seeing the meme coins bleed a lot more and the utility assets bleed a lot less. So it kind of gives me an idea. I think that there might be a narrative shift coming very soon that I'm trying to like mentally prepare for so we can get on some awesome positions. So first request from Runway was Sui, Bitcoin daily chart. Oh, Sui against Bitcoin. And then Maxwell wants to look at ChatGPT. Swept its recent lows. Yeah, we can do that too. And Scott wants a macro picture. Well, we can look at the macro stuff too. Maybe we should probably do that first, and then we'll go through the Sui and ChatGPT stuff. Are you talking about macro picture on Bitcoin? Because we can go over some of the on-chain data and see what's going on. In terms of like the miners, they did sell during this consolidation that we've had. So we got some sell pressure from miners. They sold, it's not very much a part of their supply, but whenever they sell, it usually causes a pretty big dent because they're mostly takers, right? They're not contributing liquidity. They're usually taking liquidity. And this is based on, let me refresh this chart and see if we got an update. No, I guess not, eh? So we got, a little bit of a sell pressure from miners when we started this range around here. So they contributed towards this sell pressure when we had this big drop. A market maker called Wintermute made like $800 million from this play. And one thing that I find kind of sketchy is some of that money got transferred into the official Trump token, or official Trump wallet, sorry. So we're gonna be investigating that, and we're gonna be giving you guys a report by the end of this month on like what we find. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, that's the miner power we've got going on there. And let's go over to some of the bigger picture stuff here. This is the relative unrealized profits chart for anyone who hasn't seen me blast it here before. Basically, this chart allows us to see where we're at in the cycle. Are we overheated? Are we undervalued? And it tells us based on how many people are in a profit or in a loss. How much of it is unrealized profits and unrealized losses. So how much have people been holding throughout this that are likely going to be taking some profits very soon? And when we get to the overheated zone, we're basically saying like people are buying in an unsustainable pace, which happens at the top of every single cycle. It gets pretty wild. We have this giant blow off top, and then we crash and we start the bear market. And you guys can't really see it. Let me try to adjust my chart a bit. I'm going to move it over. There we go. Now you guys can see what I'm seeing. So over here, we are at 1.23 on the REP chart, which tells us that we're basically halfway through the bull market based on our current conditions. Every time we've seen Bitcoin range at these highs, we've had a really good reset on the REP chart because that means new investors are coming in and old investors are going out, and it creates a stable balance on the chart, and it decreases our chances of going into a bear market and increases our chances of having more higher highs. And we've been ranging since November in this new range, and now we're at the same conditions as we were when Bitcoin was at like 56K. So that's telling us that we're having a healthy reset from this range bound activity that we're having, which excites me because like it's more, the more this happens, the more it validates a potential super cycle, because we're starting to see relatively unique price action, and it's not going to be possible for us to have crazy higher highs without us having this proper these consolidative periods. But basically, from this, just know that we're not near the bear market anytime soon right now. If things keep happening the way they're happening, we keep extending the bull market top. And based on that chart, we probably won't see it get overheated now unless we went straight up from here today to 150K. And the more we range, the higher that number becomes. So it's pretty cool. All right. So I'm just looking at the chat now, see what we got. A question from Dylan. Would like to join Fanova community, but what timeframes are the live streams, please? I'm on the other side of the world, and I know. Oh yeah, I gotcha. It can understand only catching the replays. It might be more valuable for you depending on where you are in the world to just do the lower tier plan. But I'm going to show you really quick for anyone who's interested. This is the schedule here if anyone wants to screenshot it. I don't even know if you can see it very well. But every Monday, we've got like 8:45 a.m. now, a brand new coach. His name's Brian McManus. He just got signed on about a week ago. And at 2 o'clock, we usually do my lives here on YouTube. I know it's 3 o'clock today. I'm sorry about that. I had to push it an hour to catch up on things. And at 7 p.m. today, this is all in Eastern Standard Time, by the way. We have David's call. On Tuesday at 9:30 a.m., I do trade hunting. That's usually about 2 hours. We look at the chart and we try to look for setups just like we are kind of like right now. But if anyone has any questions during this, I also like walking through stuff while we're waiting for trade setups to play out. I try my best to teach everyone any questions that they might have that they might be struggling with their trading journey. And at 5:30 is with Shim Moore and I. He's the lead singer of Sick Puppies, if you guys are aware of that band. Like him and I go over mindset and technical analysis. Wednesday, trade hunting again. Thursday at 5, you got market structure with Lucas. He's an amazing market structure teacher. He kind of teaches you how to identify the strong lows, strong highs, weak highs, the range bound activity. So you guys can because market structure is the core. You have to learn that before you learn pretty much anything when you're doing your trades. Otherwise, you won't know where to identify certain barriers of resistance and support, or key levels that need to be broken for continuations or reversals, stuff like that. And then lastly, we got a thesis on Fridays at 10:30 a.m., which is mostly about Fibonacci study, because that's his core strategy with his trade setups. And I'm sorry that it took up a lot of your time there, explain that there for you guys. But that's the schedule there. If you don't happen to make it to any of the calls, they get uploaded into an archive, so you guys can learn from the previous calls if you just join. Well, yeah. Max Wild. Oh, he's responding. Yeah. Fanova coaches record their calls. Yeah, cool. All right. Let's go over the TA. So the first request was from Runway. He wants to do a SUI against Bitcoin chart. I don't think I've ever viewed SUI against Bitcoin. SUI BTC. I don't even have a... There we go. You look at it on the Binance chart. So for anyone who has ever done this before, this is called comp data. So you're basically comparing an asset against another one. So SUI against Bitcoin. I'm assuming Runway is asking me to look at this chart, so he has an idea of which asset should he be holding right now, SUI or Bitcoin. And if we look at the daily, we can see that against Bitcoin, SUI had a rising wedge, right? We had this low volume move here, ended up breaking to the downside, and then the target of the rising wedge structure is down here. So what this would tell you, if you were holding SUI and or Bitcoin, this would tell you it's a better idea, once this broke and we got the change of character and the retest and the lower low, that during that moment you could have made a decision to convert your SUI into Bitcoin, or SUI against Bitcoin, right? Yeah, convert your SUI into Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is going to be strong against it. So if you use this in comparison to your SUI chart analysis, and you see like maybe SUI is range bound, it's got a double top or something, and it confirms, then you kind of have this for an extra confluence. And right now, when you're looking at SUI's price action on the daily, we've got a bit of a bear flag structure, which is a warning sign of a potential continuation. And so if we break this low right here on the daily, you might most likely be able to look at the lower time frames and front run this, especially if you see like this level act as a form of resistance, break a structure, lower low. Then you can start looking at the bear flag target. And typically when you're looking at a consolidative base like this, you can pull from the last area of consolidation like this and get an idea of where your target might be after you test the last test on the resistance. And that kind of gives you an idea of like what's the pace of the market based on this flag. If we maintain this pace, are we going where we're going to head next? And basically it's just telling us that we're likely going to get a full move down to this daily order block around 0.000234. So this is our measurable base target, but you got to look at the barriers along the way to the target, because we do not have to hit that. Zooming in. Yeah, so lower time frames, we're starting to get a deviation away from this. It's just a trend line. A trend line's meaningless unless you have a confirmation. You need to have like a retest and a lower low to validate that this trend line is being honored by other traders. It's best to make sure you pull like your value area data like this once it decides to render. It's been slow on TradingView lately, but yeah, I don't know why it's not rendering, but you pull your value area data. It might be because it's a Bitcoin comparison chart. Oh, there we go. If you see the value area honor as a form of resistance and you get a lower low, it's kind of like the equivalent to seeing a trend line like this, doing the same kind of thing. And then you can prepare for a short, but if you short or swap, I guess in this case, just be mindful of the barriers along the way down where you might see a reversal. The information on the actual SUI chart will be a lot more helpful for this. But next request was ChainGPT. Before I go to that request, I just want to make sure I set an alarm for this potential reversal because I don't want to miss out on it. Especially if we're on a call together, like on a live together, maybe we can jump on it together if it plays out. So I'm going to set an alarm right here for when we just get a tap on here, just so I can look at the chart when it's appropriate. So my trigger will be set to only once. If I wanted an alarm for when a candle closes above it, I'll do once per bar close instead. But I'm going to click on only once instead, just so I get notified if we just tap it for a moment. So I'm looking at the charts to notify the community that I might be jumping into a trade soon, or there might be an update on where I think the stop loss might be. And Bitcoin potential long, create. There we go. All right, so now we won't miss out on it if I deviate away from this chart a little bit. Let's go to the ChatGPT request. So CGPT. We got Bybit, Binance. For anyone who is curious about the Bybit hack that happened to the Ethereum wallet, I know it's kind of scary, especially if you trade on it. Bybit, in my opinion, is still one of the best exchanges you could ever trade on. And I'm sure they have it backed by insurance, and the fact that I think they got it white cap recovered too. We'll have to verify that for sure, but I'm pretty sure they might have already got their funds back from the hack. And most of the time, the white cap, recovery hacker is the same person that hacked it just to try to get a payout, but that's just my conspiracy. Let's zoom out on the daily for this thing here. I doubt this is the full chart. We don't have a little dinosaur over here. So I'm going to pull this up on a different chart. Speaking of Bybit, let's take it up here. Oh, that's a lot better, eh? Yeah. All right, and there's our little dinosaur. All right, telling us that that's most likely the first liquidity location. Okay. Now we've got some levels already drawn out here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see where we started this range bound activity here. I'm going to mark this up here. And I'm going to mark a new valley area here. We got the chat. Is there an exchange we can use in the US? Or is using VPN trade Sol versus Bitcoin instead of Sol? Bybit flagged me even with a VPN. Yeah, Bybit, they've gotten really strict with their KYC requirements. So Bybit's not going to be one that you can use unless you have documentation for the location that you're staying, that you're saying that you're stating that you're going to be in. For example, I love Bybit so much that I got a Palu ID just so I can keep using them. And they got pretty strict. Now you need not just an ID, you need proof of address, stuff like that, passport. So I would recommend, I got links down below. I recommend Blowfin. I recommend, see, for US, Blowfin's a great one. Bitnex is great too. I don't have the Bitnex links down below, but I definitely got a Blowfin one to save you guys money on fees. Because I know the fees these days are a lot higher than they used to be. They're 3x more, by the way. Since I started trading, they tripled since I started trading. And I've only been trading since 2019. That's rough. Value area high. So right now I'm marking the value area low, value area high of the local range. And I'm looking into another exchange as well for more options for you guys. And I might have a really cool partnership with them to help save you guys some money too. I give up quite a bit of my commission so you guys can get get that as a return back on your like trading fees and stuff. Like Blowfin, for example, you get like 20% back as USDT then lands right into your funding account as soon as the trade closes. I don't think that's an accurate value area low. Yeah, that's not an accurate value area low. So what makes a value area low? I don't know why it's pulling the data wrong. But what makes a value area low and a value area high is the fact that 70% of the volume, and you can customize this in your settings, but you should have it set to 70% to increase your, kind of refines your win rate, increases your win rate. If you have it set to 70%, it would mean like 70% of the volume would be in like an area like this. And so that would define the value area low if it's the lowest point where 70% of that volume resides. So I think that this green line should be right here. And I don't know why it's so buggy, but TradingView has been a pain in the butt for the past 2 months about this. But anyways, looking at this token here, we're at a macro demand zone. We're at an area where we tend to consolidate or get strong reversals. And so I'd prepare for longs more than shorts right now. Now, the worst case scenario, we can see this range bound support act as resistance. And if that happens, it would be a pretty aggressive drop down to these low levels again, around 5 cents. Because we don't have very much volume back support right here. We've pumped up really quickly. And this is young data where we do have some consolidation, which could trigger a slowdown of support along the way. But this is a key area that we definitely do not want broken, around 10.83. Or sorry, 10.518. I'll mark that on my chart. Here we go. We have some confluence here too. So if we do end up leaving this value area, we have a daily order block where we might see a strong reversal. And if we do get that reversal, then you just got to watch this value area potentially acting as a form of resistance. But that could be a great scalp. And depending on how things go, it could be a longer term trade as well. If you see continuations rather than reversal-based restructure, like internal change of character going against you, then you listen to that and get out. We got this kind of like rounded top, bounce. We're on the point of control right now. We might see like an inverse BART pattern if we break this level right here. But we got to be mindful of the fact that it would probably be a quick move. If we break above this, we have some fair value gaps here that can be filled. And we just got to watch this VWAP as a concern along the way up. If the VWAP resets, then it's going to act as a support level rather than resistance. Because when that daily candle closes, the VWAP is going to reset to wherever the active candle currently is. And as long as that active candle closes above the VWAP shortly afterwards, it gives the price action an opportunity to use the VWAP as support. But that's pretty much it for this token. What else we got in the chat? What alert noise are you using? I'm already annoyed with every single one of my TradingView alerts. I got you. I have an alert noise for specific things. So there's a bunch of different ones now, but back in the day, and when I say back in the day, like it's a long time ago, I would say like a month or two ago, they made an update where there's different sounds now. for the alerts. So one I kind of like using is the Raven, but it's kind of noisy, and it's intentionally noisy because I have a loud house. I've got 3 kids, and so yeah, I recommend just having loud noises if you got a loud home. But I usually use the Raven noise. But sometimes if I have 2 setups, like one bearish and one bullish, and one thing needs to happen in order for it to confirm the other, I'll have a sound that's unique to that. And let's see, the ones I usually use are the 3 notes reverb and the Raven, Thunder, the Whale. Those are the ones I usually use. Some of these are just really obnoxious and really super annoying. What I'd really like is if they allowed us to upload our own MP3s for like a small file size of like 10 seconds or 5 seconds. And that way we can customize it ourselves. But yeah, maybe we can all spam TradingView support for that. Have you clicked the like button? Have you seen Tia? We haven't seen Tia. We can take a look at it. Has Sol finally found its bounce zone? Yeah, Sol is going to have some relative weakness, guys, with its news that's going on right now. So its investor confidence is going to be a little bit low. And the reason why I say that is just because they have 11 million tokens ready to be unlocked on March 1st from FTX. Hey, look at that. We got our internal break coming soon. We're almost there. So yeah, that unlock, even though it's not that big of an impact, even if they sold all the tokens at once, retail doesn't usually know that. And they'll see that in the headlines, and it'll influence people to sell. So Solana is going to have some relative weakness probably until March 1st. If I look at Solana, we could see that it's probably more bearish looking than most assets. Yeah, it's definitely a lot more bearish than most. Now I got a lot of noise on my chart. I'm super sorry for that. So I'll zoom out and we'll see what we got. So we got acceptance back inside the macro valley area. Let me clean up some of this noise because a lot of it's redundant now. So, I'm going to keep these yellow lines here, but this is just noise. Noise. Okay. Well, to explain what's likely going to happen for Solana, Solana bounced off of this macro valley area, right? We had this big bounce here, but when we got the lower low, because of where the low was, we got acceptance into the valley area once we got that break of structure. And that acceptance went right into a valley right here. So I have these yellow lines here just to warn me that if I were to trade Solana, that the price action is likely going to move quickly between these lines, like it did right here, because of the fact that we have low volume here. So you can see here, we blasted right through it, quick move down again, quick move. We never really consolidate in that area. We just quickly move in and out of these zones. And it's just because of this valley right here. And we're now approaching, we just bounced off of this volume shelf right here, with this peak, the strongest area of interest of this macro range here. And the volume shelf is where we kind of bounced off of it. And if we get acceptance back inside of this high peak zone, then we'll fall to the point of control and likely be range bound here and potentially get a reversal or potentially get a continuation to the structural value area low at 126. I can't imagine Solana going much lower than that. Like we have an area here where we can go as low as maybe grabbing this wick, but I'm thinking that the bleeding will stop, if we get to around this area, or maybe even potentially here. But that's Solana. Like we can zoom in a little bit more on the lower time frames. You guys are able to see everything, right? Oh, was I? Yeah. Let me take a look and see if I can. I'm just going to make sure that you guys are able to see everything right. I have no idea when I explained that if you guys were able to view my full chart. But if you weren't able to view like the valley gap, this is what I was talking about right here. Sorry about that. Okay, so that's Solana. It's just got some relative weakness, most likely until March 1st. And then once people realize that the token unlock is not that big of a deal, it should be fine. And if they decide to sell their tokens as soon as they receive it, then that could just contribute to the sell pressure to bring it down to this valley area low at 126. And that's like, I think that's the absolute bottom for me for Solana, if it's not here. What RSI is on the bottom of your screen under RSI divergence? Okay, so under the RSI divergence indicator, this is the PVSRA. I will explain it to you here. It's a volume indicator, except what it kind of does is it shows you when there is potentially institutional involvement based on the amount of rapid transactions that occur, and in the volume is increased by 150% against this average. So how you find it is you just type PVSRA, and you'll find it from Traders Reality PVSRA volume suite. And then you'll see that there's color backing behind it. There's gray candles and there's color based candles. It's showing you when we're having a peak amount of interest in the market right now. So whenever you see like a red or green or purple or blue candle, and it happens to happen at an area where you're kind of marking for a potential change of character or a break of structure or some kind of confirmation, then you can use that in confluence with your trade setup. So if you're looking for a volume indicator and you don't want the basic crappy one that's like built into your chart, that's usually down here, I'd recommend this one. And an indicator that couples really well with it, and if you type in Traders Reality Main, that's a good one that couples with it. It changes the colors of your candles to match the volume indicator. So you can see here, there's a lot of noise here. You can actually reduce as much as you want in terms of the noise. But if you want like just the color backing to kind of give you an idea what the volume's doing, and that makes you more hyper aware that there's more volume happening during that period, then I recommend the Traders Reality Main as well alongside it. And it's also kind of helpful in the sense where it'll show you like psychological levels, your psychological high, your psychological low, your daily open, your sessions. Pretty much everything's kind of built into it, and it's a free indicator. So if you're someone who's got like the essentials plan for TradingView, then this indicator is pretty helpful because it just binds a whole bunch of indicators into one. So you can reserve your indicator space for something like that. So you don't have to keep adding and removing to try to fit with the your plan there. I'm gonna delete this noise here. There we go. All right, cool. But that's it there. Oh, Alex Crypto, what's up, man? Yeah, Alex Crypto has been climbing in the ranks here in the YouTube space. You're doing a really good job, man. Let's see. We have like a friendly battle, and now he's winning. What's the bear indicator you got? Bear bull indicator. Okay, this indicator here is called the RSI divergence. So you just type in RSI, and you'll see RSI divergence indicator, and that's the one I've got added. What it does is it basically just looks for divergences for you, and it's late on drawing them sometimes. Typically, I don't see it add it sometimes until we get like a late change of character, but it's good to train your eyes, right? And I mainly have it on my chart because a lot of people view my chart link. So then when they pull up my chart link, it's helpful for them to see where the bullish and bearish divergences are. But they don't always draw them. Like Yeah, they don't always draw them. Traders rally mania is like 4 indicators in one. Yeah, exactly. How can you tell where there are institutional investments? There's some key levels where there's a lot of liquidity that will reside. And if you use that in confluence with volume indicators like this, then it gives you an idea of like where institutional involvement might be. Order blocks are a good indicator as well. If you see an order block, it kind of gives you an edge in knowing, okay, there's a large amount of orders that created this kind of pressure. And maybe there are still orders there that are in rest, that are just waiting to be filled. So, for example, when we approach this level, we're going to have to watch this as a potential barrier. During that time, it didn't look like we had a big impact on the volume. So it could just been created by an illiquid move in the order books. And that's why we got a little tiny bit of a fair value gap. Really small one, but it's there. Yeah, some of it's been filled. What volume indicator is this? PVSRA. I'm going to type it in the chat because it's getting... I don't want to sound like a broken record. So PVSRA by Traders Reality. There you go. Okay, so now we got some more requests coming in. We got Solana. We already checked that. Ethereum, Link. Okay, so let's look at Link first, because I think that was requested first a while back. And just wait for it to render slowly. Okay. Chainlink coming down. Now, Chainlink is my second largest bag for the cycle. Okay, so we're coming back down into here, are we? Well, not yet. So Chainlink is getting really close to a critical level of support at 1585. 1585 came from a previous value area high. We've had the full body resistance of that value area high act as support here. And we used it as resistance here when we fell back down. Support, resistance, resistance, support, support, and now we're there again. We lost the buyer's momentum. So we had this downtrending trend line here to help dictate where buyers are likely going to prepare to buy. So we use trend lines in confluence with the order books, and the order books verify our trend lines. So if you see that, for example, there's a lot of buyers resting there with a buy wall, or a lot of sellers resting at a level of resistance with a sell wall, then that will help validate your trend line. So you can actually wait for that confluence backing in a change of character, and then you can jump in on a trade. We lost that momentum, so that just tells us that the pace of the buyers are kind of slowing down, and the sellers are starting to speed up. But we're in an area where we can anticipate a potential support bounce because of that previous historical confluence that we were talking about over there. We have a wick here, so that tells us that there could be a bunch of liquidity resting right below this area. So we can go as low as sweeping that, then coming back up and finding support off this value area, previous value area high, and then get a reversal back up from here. Our key, like our 4-hour level is right here. That needs to be broken for a reversal. Our hourly level is way up here. Let's see if we can look at the 15. We can delete this line, but honestly, it'd probably be the same spot. Our 15-minute level for our change of character is right here for us to break and potentially get a move to the hourly level, which was here when we looked at the hourly. So we could just rotate up to this hourly high and potentially get a correction back down and sweep that low that we're talking about. But short term, if we break this, it's looking short term bullish. And at that point, we could have established a low for a range and a high for a range if we get that rejection there. And then we start trading this as a value area for anyone who likes to range trade. You can pull your value area now if you'd like, from here to here. And we got downtrending momentum here. So if anyone's already an existing short, this is your last straw kind of momentum line, right? So if this broke and you're in a short, you should listen, because it, depending on where you are, it's going to rotate up to here. You got bullish divergence forming. But yeah, this is our key 15-minute level right here. I'm not saying that we won't go higher, but this is your first area of concern right here at the local value area high. It's also the hourly strong high that could be protected. That's Chainlink. So I'm more thinking that Chainlink is close to its bottom based on what we're seeing here, and that it likely will get a reversal very soon. We might see some short-term like choppy price action like we were talking about here, and sweep that low and come back up. And that we don't have to sweep that low, but ideally we want to grab that liquidity, so that liquidity can be used for large actors that jump into the market. The third largest bags is Qubic, right? It's not my largest, but let's look at Qubic, because there's last time we were checking it, I don't think my alarm went off. And I don't know if we have a Qubic chart yet. Oh, I need to get a Qubic chart. The community keeps asking me to talk about it. Let's look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin got that change character? It did. It technically got a break above this wick here. Now, I prefer price acceptance, like a candle close above this level, for example. We're not getting that yet. We got hard hit. We got 6 minutes left before this candle closes, and kind of wanted to close above this area here. Otherwise, we could just potentially have an internal low grab down to the golden pocket, 94K. And that from there we could build a descending inverse head and shoulders for that move to this neckline here. Let's go to, yeah, I hear you. All right, let's look at Qubic. Now, Qubic is one of those like longer term plays for sure. They haven't really got their marketing out there yet. Let's go to, is it gate.io we usually look at? Yeah, it seems like it, yeah. Look at the hourly. Yeah, this was the key level I was looking at here. We just never broke it. It's being a pain in the butt, because that looked picture perfect almost, right? Resting off the point of control, started building a rounded bottom, and just never got the break that we wanted in order to find this long up to 1784. But that's okay, because that just means more opportunity at lower prices. So we can delete that. Our key level is now over here. We might get a lower one soon. We haven't had a proper pullback on the hourly time frame, but we definitely had one here on the 15-minute, right? So this will be our potential front run opportunity. If we break this double bottom structure, we could target these highs, these extreme highs, but we'll have to be mindful of supply concern and the VWAP. And there's a confluence with the supply concern right now, because it's in line with the previous value area low, and it's in line with the point of control. I mean, the VWAP. So this area is likely going to act as resistance, at least on the first test. And if we break this neckline here, we could rotate up to here. And if we get continuation structure, and if the timing is right, where the VWAP will reset below the price action, then it'll be less of a barrier concern. But you should always be looking at previous VWAPs. So, for example, if you see here where we had this large move, you should watch where it reset, because it could be a location where it could potentially act as support. Same with here where we had the reset. It could be an area where it can act as support. Just keep an eye on it. because it'll act as support or resistance, just like it did here, where it acted as a form of resistance 1, 2, 3 times before we got rejected below the active VWAP, and then eventually ran back up. So locally for Qubic, this is what I'm looking at, and it could spark a domino effect for a longer term hold, but please watch out for this area. We have the previous resistance right over here, right? And that likely what helped result in the generating this slow leg down, right? We've got this supply concern. So impulse move, base, impulse move, supply. So break of this, yeah, now I'm starting to sound repetitive. But if we end up getting continuation structure, then you can hold your trade until about here, where your next area of concern will be, this previous point of control. If we break this, then we will confirm a more macro double bottom to launch the price up a lot more. If we zoom out on the daily to see why we have this green boxed, it's because it's a daily demand zone. And each time we get here, we have really strong reversals. So we got to prepare for that event again, just in case. It'd be pretty sweet. So I'm going to be preparing for accumulating Qubic if we end up confirming a reversal. All right. What else we got? I'm just going through the chat here. I don't want to miss anyone. I always feel bad if I get a message from someone saying, hey, you missed me. We went through Link, Sui, Sol, obviously Bitcoin. Let's go back to Bitcoin's chart. And we're coming down. USDC2 or just USDT? Where are you at? Questioning. How can we tell if we got it in your referral for fees? I only learned about it from you, and hopefully they're... Oh yeah, the way to check is just, if you look at your funding account, you know you have like 4 different accounts. Your funding account will receive USDT. Lands in your account 6 hours after your trade closes. Or after your initial fee, sorry. So if you got a fee for entering, 6 hours after the fee, you'll get it into your funding account. And after your closing fees, it'll be 6 hours after that. But yeah, all lands in your account as USDT. What do we got? What's the best strategy indicators for trend market structure versus ranges? For trend market structure versus ranges. Best strategy. Well, I can't tell you I don't know the best strategy in the world, but I can tell you mine. For range bound activity, I use fixed range volume profiles, which is it starts as a skill-based tool, but you'll get the idea of it relatively quickly. And market structure is really, really important. So if I were to give you guys all my rules for how I trade, I can draw it out pretty easily. So market structure is like rule number 1. That's what you're gonna have to learn first. And so let's say, for example, price action looked like this. You're gonna need to know the difference between a break of structure and a change of character in order to understand my strategy. But it's a good guideline for everyone needs to learn market structure before trading, in my opinion. I don't care what your strategy is. I highly recommend learning market structure. Okay, and I'm just drawing out like examples of how we could trade a range using my strategy here. And let's just say this one goes straight down just to make things easier. Okay, so this here is a value area, right? We have a value area right here. And when I do my value area polls, it helps me identify locations where price action's out of balance and we're likely just going to go into a range. And my strategies, basically, I bank on a slight deviation of that balance. I need to see price action get outside of the value area, preferably outside of the value area, and not trade it within it internally, because it will, it's like the difference between like an A plus and a B minus setup. So let me draw this out. And let's say this is the point of control, like right here. All right, so let me change that. So my strategy, basically, when I watch the price action, right? So I'm looking for, my core final rule is a change of character. So I'm watching the breaks of structure, and I'm always watching where the strong low is if I'm looking for a short, and I'm always watching where the strong high is if I'm looking for a long within a range. All right, so here we got breaks of structure, and then when we finally get our change of character, it is very, 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 very important where that change of character is occurring. So here we got our first change of character in this little drawn example. This change of character occurred at a value area high. I would prefer, when I go to trade, that when we break this neckline of this double top here I drew out, that the double top provides a change of character, and that the candle close is inside of the value area. And even better if we get a retest, right? Or if we get a bounce prior, like a little dead cat bounce before we go back into the value area, because that will have a much better stop loss guard. And then I'll target the opposite side of the value area. And I'll look for wicks too. Is there a wick over here where liquidity could be resting? And I'll look at the heat maps and see, okay, there's a ton of liquidity here that could be targeted. So I'll prepare to exit at that liquidity. And same thing when it comes to longs, right? In this short, what I'll monitor is downtrending momentum like this. And let me just make this a different color so it's easier for you guys to see. I would arguably say you guys can barely see the color. There we go. So we got this yellow line here. And same here with this momentum here. If I was in a long, I'd be watching this momentum. And the more important part of the, when the momentum's lost, is it breaking from a change of character, or was it breaking from? If it breaks from a change of character, I'm very, very, very likely to listen to this momentum to close my active long position and prepare for another potential setup. We got the change of character starting to target the value area low, and now we got a change of character here too. And that's when I'll jump into a long. If it's below the value area, I prefer that. If this double bottom happened here, I might take the trade. I might still take the trade, but I'm going in knowing that my chances of a win is reduced. And I prefer to have that slight deviation below the value area low, because it also increases my risk to reward ratio when I'm charting these areas. But that's pretty much it. That's pretty much my strategy. If I were just to, I'll look for other confluences as well. Like, is the volume there? Of course. Bullish divergence is not important to me at all. It's just like an extra pat in the back. Sweet, I got bullish divergence. And normally when you have bullish divergence, you tend to have some lows, important lows swept, which means there might be institutional involvement. And if that means there's institutional backing, there's likely going to be a volume push from them around the change of character to induce retail to kind of push the price to the opposite side of the value area so that institutions can exit up here. And we're kind of like using the market maker as a tool with this strategy, just following them wherever they go and trying to exit, preferably before they exit. But if you listen to the warning signs like the change of character going against you and getting acceptance back to the value area, then you got to listen to all those. The same reason why you'd be preparing for a short, you should use the same reasoning for preparing for your exits for potential longs. But that's pretty much my strategy. Now there's tons and tons and tons and tons of strategies out there. So if you don't like this strategy, That this has worked for me for years. That this provides me an over an 80% win rate. Now, it's not just as black and white as following the market structure like this. I also look both ways before crossing the road by looking at the order books. So if I see a massive sell wall, or a buy wall, for example, if I'm looking at shorts, I'll look at those walls, I'll mark them on my chart, and if there's a lot of confluence of resistance, for example, if there's a sell wall at a point of control, and that point of control is really close to my entry, then I'm going to listen to that and say, I should wait for the retest, because that sell wall is probably going to induce pressure to give us a pullback, and when we get that higher high, I could just use the new strong low as my stop loss guard and just jump in later at a different price. And a lot of people think the lower the price, the better when you're thinking about trying to enter trades. But really what you're after as a trader is the best risk to reward ratio. You're not after the best position, like where you are in terms of price. You're after the best entry and where the best stop loss guard is relative to that entry. Because that risk to reward ratio is where you're going to make your money. Oh, there. Got lots of questions to catch up on. No. I don't see Qubic on either Blowfin or BitSnex. Where can a US citizen trade it? There's quite a bit of options for that. You can look at, I'll recommend going on to CoinMarketCap and seeing if there's an exchange that works best for you. So look up, it there. I'll take a peek for you. CoinMarketCap.com. Qubic. Yeah. And wait for it to render. Sorry, guys. You just gotta watch out for potential scam versions. But scam versions shouldn't be listed. Ideally, shouldn't be listed on CoinMarketCap. So I'll pull it up here. That's a scam version. Okay. Well, I said ideally. That didn't mean that they'll actually... Where's the marketplace? I can't look into it right now, but I'll take a peek, and I don't know who asked that. Are you a part of the community? Can I potentially reach out to you there? Circulating supply of Qubic is crazy. Not buy this coin unless you want to do a quick trade. Yeah, the circulating supply is huge. They adjusted the tokenomics, which makes it a little bit better. Qubic will be Kyle's third largest bag. I don't know if it would be my third largest, but can we do a quick analysis on FET? Yes, we can. Do we have a FET chart? Let's take a peek. Nope. Okay, so let's. Does anyone want to screenshot this before I delete it? I'm not sure if it's any very helpful for you, but one thing to quickly note as well, like be careful whenever you see something like this with my strategy here, because that is not a change of character anymore unless we capture this strong high, and it would be around here. So if you're going in on like the eternal stuff, just be mindful and keep an eye on like internal retests, because it'll make things a little bit safer if you're looking for a retest if you don't get the proper change of character. So I gotta delete this. If you guys want, I can do a version later where I show you a difference between like an A+ setup and like a D setup using my strategy. I've got like, I could probably draw like hundreds of examples, but I can go over some core common setups. Okay, cool. So just message me, do an @ message in the Ask Kyle channel, and I'll be able to help you out as soon as this live's over. We'll find out for you what the best one might be for you. But yeah, in this channel right here, just @ message me. Oh, I think I know. Yeah, okay, you're right here. All right, cool. And it was Fet. Fet was the request. And for everyone who's listening, I prioritize @ message requests in the server over my DMs. Just because I'm trying to keep people out of the DMs messaging me so they don't get impacted. They're less likely to be impacted by like a impersonator in the DMs, because the impersonators can't get into the Discord, but they can message you inside of the DMs. But here, the last time we looked at Fet on the live, was it the live or was it the Tuesday call? This was a Tuesday call. Okay. So during our group trade hunting session, we marked some key levels for potential long and short. We've got the long zone here, and we had a short here. I don't think we took this trade, but we had the setup here in case anyone wanted to take it. And if we took the long, it's roll rotation up to the value area high, and we got there pretty quickly. The short, we'd have to be mindful of all these lows. So like the long was definitely the safer play. When you're thinking about things in a risk to reward ratio sense, this would only be like a 1-to-1 based on how that played out. Now we can update this value area, and we can see that we might be preparing for a long as well with Fet. Oh, I hate that that crash that happened really messes up your value area polls, because now you have to come all the way down here for this anchor. So annoying. I don't know if it's just me that's annoyed by that, but ever since that crash, the crazy wick thing, when you try to include it in your polls because of the supply zone being so close to the high with a lot of these assets, you tend to have to poll the whole thing to make sure you have an accurate value area low and value area high. But here, if we look at Fet, we are potentially preparing for another reversal. We just swept this low here, so we grabbed the liquidity from below this zone. We can look at the charts, the liquidity heat map charts for Fet, just to verify. Let's see how much liquidity was taken. But this is an area where we should be preparing for reversals. And if anyone struggles with seeing or visualizing deviation from charts, I'd recommend using Fibonacci for that. You get your Fibonacci tool, pull it from the high to the low. So you'd be clicking, the anchor would be right on the value area high and right on the value area low. And then I know this template is not proper for it, but this will help you right here. And what this basically allows you to see, depending on how you set it up, it allows you to see how much percentage we've deviated away from the value area itself. And if we're around 25% away from the value area, then you typically get better R&R setups to target the extreme highs or the value area high. Does it matter what time frame you pull it on? Oh, the fixed range volume profile? It's not supposed to, but lately it has been. So no matter, technically, no matter how you pull your fixed range volume profile, the volume stays the same, no matter what candles are being shown. So it shouldn't impact how your value area appears. But for some reason lately, if you switch between time frames, your value area low, despite the value area looking the same, your value area low and your value area highs are sometimes being scrambled lately. And I'm hoping that they fix that bug, because it's been going on for a few months now. And anyone who uses value area as part of their trading, it's pretty annoying. But yeah, so key zone here that I'd be looking for is up over here. You might have a front run opportunity with like SFP trading. But this is a zone that I'd be watching the most, because when we break above this, we've already would have occurred a change of character around here, but at this low level, we'd have the acceptance if we break this into the valley area, and we can start targeting the valley area high and being mindful of the point of control. And I'm not sure how, okay, I got mitigated here, but we have a 30-minute order block that occurred here. We tapped it in this candle, so it got mitigated on the indicator, but we should still watch this zone here because it's still a supply risk around 76.3 is where it starts. But at 73 is where the key level is that I want to see broken for that rotation to the upside. Now that key level could change. Like we could have a zone down here around that 25% deviation I was talking about, and you might see a break of momentum, double bottom, break, and then then you just have to babysit a little bit, because the valley area could act as resistance and generate a lower low. And at that point, we'd be losing the valley area and be losing this range. So I'm waiting for 73 to be broken right now. And then whatever strong low you get at that time, you use that as your stop loss. Yeah, Vanova Qubic Schiller #1 over here. I'm in Kyle's DMs, secret only trades account. Yeah, it's funny. Am I missing anyone? I got about 15 minutes left before I gotta head out. Am I missing any requests? I'm just gonna zoom out through the chat. We got 76 viewers. Let's see if we can get 76 likes. That'll be it. We get close to our record. Our record's like 86 likes in a video. It'd be pretty cool if we break that record. How do you pull the volume profile correctly? Yeah, let's go over that, since we got about 15 minutes left and no one's given me requests. So there are some beginner ways of doing it, and then there's some experience. Eventually it'll come with experience. But if you get let's see if I can draw it out, or can I explain it through price action? What would be the easiest way for you guys? But I look for how I explain it to beginners until they get the groove in and understand where a range will start. Is you would look for, let's say we're going in an uptrend, and actually let's do this. And we're going in an uptrend, and then we get a change of character. The moment you get that change of character, you could technically pull a fixed range volume profile from basically where the start of the demand zone is. And a demand zone comes from, if you see a price action go up, we consolidate, and then we have another impulse move like this. And you could pull it from the moment you get that change of character to identify where we could potentially have a value area low or a zone, like a demand zone, to prepare for the close your short. If you took a short here, maybe you didn't take a short because you rather just trade ranges. But if you look at the past and you see there's a supply zone, right? Maybe there's this connection here we can make. If there's a supply zone and we just hit it as a resistance, we're likely going to be range bound between a previous supply zone and a active demand zone. And we get down there and we have our next change of character. It's much, much easier to pull a fixed range volume profile if you're a beginner. The moment you have two changes of character, we kind of established a range here. We honored a demand zone as support. We honored a previous supply zone as resistance. And at that point, you could pull a new valley area. Now, you could also look at previous valley areas where we've ranged. So if you're trying to find out, just trying to learn where we consolidate, we can see here we consolidated, right? We consolidate here. We broke out of the value area. We confirmed the value area's resistance, and we got down here. So at this point, you could technically pull a separate value area from here to here until we confirm that we lost it. So using previous data can help you identify where we could be approaching an area if we came back up here to go range bound again. Because we can respect previous ranges as if we've been in it the entire time. It's kind of acts like magic. And it's all because like previous traders in this zone they might be holding positions still in this area. They might be closing positions because we returned. So we generate range trading activity because of that. And so 2 changes to character is a beginner-friendly way of identifying when to pull a fixed-range volume profile. The only downside with using 2 changed characters as a rule, instead of maybe 1, is that you will be late to the party, and that there might be already a trade or 2 opportunity that came into play while you're waiting for the safety of knowing that it was a fixed-range, a good time to pull a value area, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Which isn't a problem. Like if you guys can control your emotions, your FOMO, and just be patient, and you're just still trying to learn when to pull a value area, just wait for 2 changes to character, and then just from there, you know that we have an established range that you could trust, right? And you might not have gotten your first trade in until here with this range, but at least we established the range, and a lot of traders were respecting the range. And then once you get that change of character, you can target the opposite side. And maybe we leave the value area now and we don't stay in it, but at least you got 1 trade in and you were playing it off safe and not trying to jump into anything that you weren't able to handle yet. But yeah. Alex of Crypto just entered LDO. Long. Oh, cool. Right on. Let's take a look at Alex of Crypto setup. Or did you say that you just entered and you're telling Alex of Crypto? But either way, we can take a look. Let's see. Why do I have that? Oh, okay. I was looking for a Lido Chalk. Lido change character? Yeah, it played out until we hit the momentum right here. And we boxed this zone, so we knew this was an area of confluence-backed resistance. Interesting. So we haven't updated this valley area since Monday, so I guess the last time we looked at it was Monday. Now we have, just like we had uptrending momentum here, now we have downtrending momentum here that we can watch. We can pull that from here to here. More accurately here. Now we're deviating away from the active value area low. So here we would definitely prepare for potential longs. We got this downtrending momentum here. This is the more macro one, but we also have got internal momentum right here. We can use a 15-minute time frame. So this is looking a lot like everything else. Everything's trying to reverse out of value area. So again, I'd play this one safe. I wouldn't wait for the break of this zone. I'd wait for the break of this level here. If we get a full body close above this, by the time that occurs, the daily VWAP might reset and go down below the price action and help drive it up as support. And we'd have acceptance of the value area. We have a break of the momentum telling us that the shift of the sellers have rotated and now the buyers are kind of taking over. So we'll get that momentum break. It will happen in confluence with the break of this level, and we'll get the value area acceptance, and we got bullish divergence. So quite a bit of confluence is backing a potential long around here. where we target, you could target these highs, but would kind of don't put too much faith in us coming up here, because we've got a 15-minute order block here. We went range bound for quite a bit of time, and the longer you go range bound, the more likely it's going to act as a strong level of resistance the next time you test it. It doesn't mean that we won't break through it before coming back down, but we might see some price action building like a bull flag as we tackle against that potential resistance before we get a rotation up further. We got to watch out for this 15-minute order block and the point of control. But if we get past this, this is what you watch next. You can set an alarm for next time we get there. If we get past this point of control, then $2 is next. But we got some confluence here at the point of control as well. We got the 15-minute order block right on top of the point of control. So either way, even if we only make it to this level here, it's still a good trade. So just make sure you're alert when we get to these zones. Setting alarms near areas of concern like this. And maybe have a specific sound as well for that alarm. What's the most annoying thing that could bother you right now? And just pick that as your sound, because if it annoys you, then you know that you should be like, it's an area of concern, right? Or whatever triggers you into knowing that it's an area of concern. Like what sound is good for that? And make sure you dedicate sounds to stuff like that, so that you don't get confused about what's going on in your chart. You're already up 20% from 50. You said 0.51. It's a 2-cent move, and you're up 20%. You, my friend, are using a lot of leverage. What do you got? I'm glad you're doing good. 20% move. So you're up 20x. Rooster works best. Yeah, Rooster's a good one. If it's LDO, Pollo entered, yeah. So that's LDO. Ondo has been taking a big hit. We can look at that next. Every time I think of Pollo, I always think of Ondo for some reason. I know it's like a big thing that you're into. Oh, look at that. We swept this. We got internal SFP. Maybe we'll break this neckline and rotate up to this one. Fractalizing double bottoms. All right, so let's look at Ondo. It's giving me, I don't have enough of this thing. Let's give me an opportunity right now. So we lost the 200 EMA on the daily. Right here. We came down, we had to act as resistance. Right? And then we got rejected. Let me adjust the EMA. The 200. I'm going to change the, okay, sweet, it's set to day. So when I go to the 4 hour, it'll show me the daily on the 4 hour. If I go to like any time frame, no matter what, it's going to show me the 200 on the daily time frame. Now I could adjust this one so it syncs with the daily as well. Now that EMA is showing me what the daily 50 is. If these cross, then it's considered a death cross when the 50 crosses over top of the 200 like this. Yeah, that would be the death cross. And that can sometimes contribute traders to more sell pressure from traders. Some people use just these EMA crossings to define when to enter. So it would enter around here from the golden cross, and they could exit soon if we get the death cross, and then they would capture the difference between the two crosses, unless they happen to get out up here. Right? Bitcoin, you guys should check out Bitcoin's death crosses and golden crosses, because the win rate on them is phenomenal. And you just look at the daily local strong low or strong high and just use it as your stop loss when they cross, and you are set. The downside of with that using golden cross strategy or the death cross strategy is that you have an evolving target and you don't know where your target technically is. But you have an exit plan, which is great. You should always have an exit plan. If you don't like the evolving target, the same way we target the highs of a range, you can target the highs of the chart. With a daily death cross or golden cross, you can target these kind of highs, right? And it turns it into a swing trade, and you're getting it at really good points. If you don't like just jumping in on EMA crosses, I fully understand that. But this is just statistical backing to support any of your own trade setups, right? So it could be either this double bottom here, and then we have a golden cross right after we break and retest. Then that's a really good area of confluence to tell you there could be a lot of traders backing this setup soon, because some people only act off of EMA crosses. Think about what other traders are doing. Will they contribute to the volume of your own setup? So that's why confluences are really important. The more confluences you get, the more traders are usually participating in your setup, and the more volume. And the more volume means you're more likely to hit your target faster, and you don't have to wait as much. Right now with Ondu, we're coming, I guess since we lost the 200, we could come down pretty low. We could see us sweeping this area around 89 cents again. That's a pretty big gap for Ondu, but we've seen it do wild recoveries really quickly. Well, this is an example right in front of our face. So we could grab that liquidity, then come back up, and we'd have the confluence of the downtrending support where the buyers might be resting, waiting for buy orders. But make sure you look at the order books to validate that. See if the buyers are actually there. Are they chasing the price action with a buy wall on the trend line? And if you see a buy wall, let's say the buy wall is right here, that might tell you might need to slightly adjust your trend line a little bit, right? Find out where the trade participants are. But yeah, guys. Oh, I don't want to go on the Bitcoin chart, on the Ondo chart. Let me switch that back. There we go. Let's go back over here. The Bitcoin looking like it might want to. We got an order block generate on the 15. Break this high, rotate to this high, and then break this high. We rotate up further. $0.98 is the money entry. Yeah, like $1 seems to be like the fair value of Ondo right now. Max Wild asking, so EMA is set to daily for both 50 and 200. No matter what time frame, when those cross, has a decent win rate. Yeah. So if you use, now I know that it has a decent win rate on the Bitcoin chart, but make sure you back test it on any altcoins too, if you're going to use it there. It has a 100% win rate on Bitcoin, but it might have an 80% win rate on something else, right? So just be careful. Time's up, brother. Don't be neglecting your other duties. I know. I'm glad I got an accountability partner here. But yeah, I got to head out. But you're right, Maxwell. If you get the EMA crossing and you set it so that it's in sync with the time frame that you've chosen, like say you're looking at the 15-minute, make sure that you apply. You can still have the 200 on like the 15-minute. Doesn't mean it doesn't have some extra weighted value to help you with confluences, but the daily is really, really important. When you see those golden crosses and death crosses on Bitcoin, they're significant. Our last golden cross was in way over here, right here, I think. I guess I should add it to my chart so I can actually prove it. Oh, here. Okay. But right here was the last golden cross. We had a death cross here, which would have resulted in a loss. But your loss would have been relatively small because you would have used this level here as your stop loss. Now here we had a golden cross. You would have used here as your stop loss guard, and you would still be in the trade today. And you'd Like we almost had a death cross in the last range. Very, very close. Like super close. We didn't get it. We just maintained it here. And now the 200 is starting to catch up to this range. And once this becomes flush with the demand zone, I think we'll have a pretty wild pump if we test it. We'll see what happens. Because we could come down and test this first before coming up. All right, guys, I definitely got to go. I appreciate everyone who's jumped on. Michael, we did go over, did we go over Ethereum? Should I rush that really quick? I think I should rush that really quick. I always try to say goodbye to you guys, and then, yeah. ETH, let's see what you're doing. All right, Ethereum. Now this trend line's a legacy trend line that has, what I'm going to do, I also recommend doing this to anyone who might try to reduce noise. What you can do with your trend lines is you can go to visibility and you could adjust it so it's only seen on the time frame you want to see it on. So if I want to reduce noise on my chart, I could make it so that I can't see this trend line on the hourly. I can only see it on the daily because it's like a daily trend line. Now it is pretty helpful to see daily levels. So if you want to see it, make sure you leave it on your chart. But in this case, you can remove it if it's kind of just adding more noise than it's helping. And that way, now if I zoom out on the daily, I can see that trend line here. Right? And then when I zoom back in on the hourly, it's not there anymore. And you can also create templates like this. You save a template for the time, so you can like kind of customize visibility. So maybe you can have a template for 15-minute time frame trend lines, or a template for an hourly, template for 4-hour, stuff like that. It's all up to you guys. But if you struggle with noise, that will help reduce some of the noise. Ethereum right now, we are getting close to its active point of control. You can see we got this really big volume spike here. And we're kind of like resting on the volume shelf as support. Now, because of how strong that value area is, we might not come down this low, but you could probably see some confluence with Bitcoin breaking and getting acceptance into its value area, and Ethereum kind of getting returned back up to its value area high. But I would mark this level, because I've seen this time and time again. This level, whenever you see these kind of like descending regression trends like this, we tend to hit the top of it and then get a rejection off of it, because that's where the liquidity usually ends. There's tons of liquidity stacking here, 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 and here. So we come up and grab it all and then come down. We might spike up to hit the value area high, but just be mindful that we could see this as resistance and not go any further up. But again, Ethereum is in a spot where you should be preparing for more longs rather than shorts. We could see break above this neckline here and a retest, enter, and then target. Current stop loss is here, but if we get a pullback, which I prefer, we could use that as your stop loss guard instead. But you want at least 2 candles to pull back before getting the higher high if you're going to use it as your stop loss guard, or else it's not a proper guarded low. Okay, now I'm actually going to say goodbye. You guys have an amazing day. I'll see you tomorrow morning for anyone who's going to be jumping in on the trade hunting call. So hopefully we get a setup, and I'll let you guys know when I enter Bitcoin for a long. It might be sooner than this level here, but this is definitely a level that I'm watching for that break for a strong continuation back up, or strong reversal, sorry, back up. All right, guys, have an amazing day, and thanks for watching.